Welcome to the ultimate Figma variable library setup video. We're going to look at building out our variable library, starting with our brand collection, all of the different variables that belong in our brand collection. Then we're going to map those to our alias collection. Again, all the different variables that we might need in our alias collection before finally in our mapped collection as well. We do have a video on the way covering the same theory in dark mode and also building it out in Token Studio first before syncing to our Figma variables. So be sure to subscribe for that and leave a comment around which video you'd like to see first. Let's dive in. We also do still have our design system tracker and free public beta where you can ensure that your designs are consistent prior to dev handoff by detecting remote, local, and detached or unlinked styles, variables, and components. I'll put a link in the description. Be sure to check that out. All right, so to start, we're going to look at building out our spacing variables, which we use for our padding and our gap. We don't like to have almost those different categories of variables, for specific variables for padding and specific variables for gap, because they're doing roughly the same thing. The numbers are going to be roughly the same. So we just like to combine those in what we call our spacing variables. So here I am just in our brand collection. Again, I'm not in our mapped collection or alias collection. If you're not too sure what those are, I would watch our token naming variable and setup video. I'll put a link for that in the description where it goes through that a little bit more in depth. But again, we're just in our brand collection to start. So I'm going to add a number variable, which will be our spacing. And we're going to start off with our extra small. And we're going to set that to 2. And when we do that, I can see that when we now have a category for spacing, and we're just going to go into the spacing tab here. And let's add another number variable. This will be our extra small. We're going to set that 4. Let's then do an extra small, which we're going to set to 8. We're going to add a small, which we're going to set to 12. Let's then do a medium, which we're going to set to 16. A large, which we're going to set to 24. An extra large, which will be our 32. A extra large, which we're going to set to 48. And then lastly, an extra large, which we're going to set to 64. Beautiful. So I can see I have an action bar right here, just consisting of 2 buttons. And what I can go ahead and do now is actually go ahead and apply those variables for my gap. So let's say I want 24 pixels in between. For our horizontal padding, let's say I maybe want 12. And then for our vertical padding as well, I want 12. And there we go. So that's how I would use my spacing variables to adjust things like your padding and your gap. Next, let's go ahead and look at our radius variables that we'll use for components like buttons, cards, so on and so forth, which again, adjust the corner radius of those specific components. So let's go ahead and just in the all variables, let's create another number variable that we're going to call our radius. And our first will be set to none. Again, this is where we like to have that nice square edge, as we can see here, where the corners don't have any of that curvature. So that will be 0 to start. Beautiful. So then go into radius. And following a similar structure, we're going to go with our extra small, which we're going to set to 2. Let's also go with a small, which we're going to set to our 4. Let's also go with a medium. We're going to set to 8. And then let's create a nice round, like pill-shaped radius that'll be set to 50. So a little bit of a larger jump there. So now what we can do is go ahead, click our components, and let's go ahead and apply those variables. So again, we have our none to start. So we have that nice clean edge. We have our extra small, so a little bit more curvature. We have our small, our medium, and then if we want to create it nice and round, we have our 50 for that nice pill shape. There it is. There you have your radius variables. Next, let's go ahead and actually build out all of the colors that we're going to need for our brand collection that we could then map in to our alias collection and then map in to our mapped collection. A good strategy here would just be to follow along with me as I go through and actually build out all of the hex codes. I know it's a little bit more cumbersome. And then what you can do after the video, once you feel comfortable, is just take the colors that you have in your brand collection and then swap them in for the colors that we have. It's a real good strategy for you to take. So let's start off with a color variable that we're going to be color. It's going to be our red darkest to start. Oops, red darkest. And here we go here. The color, and let's go ahead and change this to 37201D. Let's then go with a red darker, and let's set this to 601 E17. Go with a red dark, and our red dark is going to be F2 A1A. So go ahead with a red, and our red is going to be E34 935. Then we're going to go with a red light, and a red light is going to be FA 7463. Then we'll do with a red lighter, and our red lighter is going to be FOE 64. Perfect. Next, let's go ahead and map out what will become our wording colors. And we only like to have one orange, and you'll see why a little bit later on. And this is going to be our DD7208. Then we'll go with the yellow darkest. And our yellow darkest is going to be 30250A. Then we'll go with yellow darker. And our yellow darker is going to be 5F4 80C. So then go with just our yellow dark. And our yellow dark is going to be 805 F10. Lastly, let's do, let's do our yellow. And our yellow is going to be B38 600. There we go. And let's just keep going down the line. We're going to go with our yellow light. And our yellow light is going to be E2B 226. And then let's have a yellow lighter, where our yellow lighter is going to be FFF7 D7. Perfect. Let's then go ahead and start going down the line with our greens. So again, these are going to be our success colors a little bit later on. So we'll start off with our green darkest. So it's going to be 23322C. Let's go with a green darker. And our green darker is going to be 18563. And again, I know this is, not darker, green darker. And I know this is quite cumbersome, so bear with me here. And then let's go with a green dark. And our green dark is going to be 1D6 E4F. So then just go with a green. Our green is going to be 23A 360. So then go with a green light. And our green light is going to be 46C, E9A. And then let's go with a green lighter. Our green lighter is going to be DD EC7. Beautiful. So there we have our success colors, or what will be our success colors later on in this video. Next, let's look at adding our teals. So our teal darker, and this is going to be our 2256 5B. Let's just go with our teal dark. Teal dark is going to be 337C 85. So then just go with our teal. And our teal is our 1D9 AA and A. Let's go with a teal light. teal light is a 5DC, 6D2. And then we got a teal lighter. And our teal lighter is our BFF 0F5. Beautiful. And next, we're going to look at our blue colors. And our blues, in this case, that we're going to see a little bit later on in this video, will translate into our primary color. So this is our core brand color, just in this case. So let's go with the blue darkest. And this will be 0A, 182A. And then let's go with a blue darker. And this will be 073, 26A. Let's go with a blue dark. Our blue dark will be 005, 69. And then we'll just go with our base blue. Our base blue is 1D7, AFC. So then go with a blue light. And this is 549, DFC. And then let's go with a blue light. And this is a 8dB, EFF. And then we're going to have a blue lightest in this case. And this is going to be our EBF 7FC. Beautiful. So there we have some of the colors that we're going to use for our core brand a little bit later on. Next, let's look at our purples. So we're going to have a purple darker. And this is going to be 362, C62. So then go with a purple dark. Our purple dark is going to be a 5E4, EAF. Let's just have a purple, where a purple is going to be our 827. Our 827, 0dB. So then go with a purple light. And our purple light is 9E9, 0EC. And then let's go with a purple lighter. I can't type today. Purple lighter. And our purple lighter is going to be F2F, F2F, 0FE. Beautiful. We just like to have one magenta color. And our magenta color in this case is going to be our CD5 19D. Beautiful. And next, let's go into looking at our neutral colors, or what will be our neutral colors. So starting off with our gray darkest, which is just going to be a string of ones, 111, 111. Nice and simple. Then we're going to have our gray darker. Our gray darker is going to be 252, 92E. And then we're going to have a gray dark. Our gray dark is going to be 465, 670. Let's just have a gray. And our gray is going to be 758, 195. And let's have a gray light. Our gray light is going to be 849, 0A1. And then let's have a gray lighter. And our gray lighter will be DCD, FE3. And then let's have a gray lightest. Gray lightest will just be F2, F2, F2. And then we just need a basic black color, which is going to be 000, 000. And then we need a basic white color, which is going to be FFF, FF, and F. So beautiful. There we have all the colors that we're going to need within our brand collection in order to map through to our alias collection. And that is what we're going to look at next. All right, so now that we have our brand color collection all set up, let's look at actually mapping these colors through to our alias collection. If you're not sure the purpose of your alias collection or your brand collection or even your map collection, which we're going to get to a little bit later on in this video, be sure to check out our token to variable setup and naming convention video. It goes in depth into that. I'll put a link for that in the description. And before I get started with the alias, just two quick housekeeping things I did here. I just grouped our colors accordingly. Again, you don't need to do it. I like to do it. Keeps things nice and organized. And I renamed the color here, or the mode here to brand. So let's then go ahead and get started with our alias collection. So again, a color, and we're going to start off by calling this our primary dark. Now, one thing we're not going to do here is add in a hex code value. What we're actually doing is we're connecting our brand color and our alias collection, or our alias color. So in this case, I'm going to create an alias, and this is going to be our primary dark, is going to be our blue dark. So I'm connecting the two of them together. Let's then also do a primary. And again, create an alias. And this is going to be our color blue. Let's then go with a primary light. Create an alias. And it's going to be our blue light. Then let's do a primary lighter. And this is going to be color blue lighter. Then let's do another one with our primary lightest. Let's create the alias, and this is going to be our blue lightest. So again, we're taking our blue colors and we're assigning them the primary role because this is the main one that we're going to work with, in this case, just with our brand. Next, look at our secondary colors. So we're going to create, in this case, a secondary dark. And our secondary is going to be our teal. So our secondary dark will be our teal dark. Our secondary base color will just be, you guessed it, your teal. And then let's go with a secondary light. And this will be going to be our teal. Our teal light. There we go. So next we're going to look at our neutral colors. So again, we're going to have a black. We already have a black, but map it again with our alias. So this is going to be our black. And then let's also let's look at our neutral darkest. So our neutral darkest. There we go. And this is going to be our gray darkest. Let's go with a neutral darker. Neutral, oops, not a color, number, excuse me, so delete that. Color, this will be our neutral darker. And this is going to be our gray darker. We're going to do with a neutral dark. And you guessed it, this is going to be our gray dark. And then we're going to go with a neutral. Come on, there we go. And this is going to be our gray. And then we're going to go with a neutral light. And this is going to be a gray light. This is going to be our neutral lighter. This will be our neutral light. Oops, excuse me. Excuse that. This is going to be our gray light. So yes, just be careful that you don't actually connect an alias color to an alias color, as I did right there. So this is not going to be our neutral. This is going to be our gray light. It's going to be our gray lighter. And then lastly, let's do a neutral lightest. And this is going to be our gray lightest. There we go. So yes, don't make the same mistake that I did. And let me just double check here. Color. There we go. Okay, I think that looks good. And then lastly, just to round off our neutral colors, we're going to do a white. And again, just tie that back to our white. Beautiful. So next, what we're going to do is look at our information colors. So we're going to create a information color, information darkest. And this is going to be our color blue darkest. Color blue darkest. There we go. And then we're going to have an information dark. And our information dark is going to be our color blue dark. And then we're going to go with just an information color. And this is also just going to be our color blue. There we go. And then let's do an information light. And you guessed it, this is going to be our color blue light. And then we're going to have an information lighter. And this is going to be our blue lighter. Beautiful. So next, let's go ahead and start with our success colors. So we're going to have a success darkest. And then we're going to create the alias of this, and this is just going to be, oops, not success. Again, don't do that. This is going to be our green darkest. Color green darkest. Beautiful. And then let's create a success dark. And let's create the alias, and this will just be our green dark. There we go. And then we're going to have just a success color. And you might be asking why we're doing the darkest colors. Those work really well for things like dark mode, and that'll be part of a future video, so be sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's create a success, and this will just be our green. Let's then go with a success light. And then we're going to create the alias of that. This is going to be our green light. And then let's do... we're going to start with our warning now. So this will be our warning darkest. And this will be our yellow darkest. Yellow darkest. There we go. Then we're going to go with a warning darker. And this is going to be our yellow dark. Oops, our yellow darker. There we go. And then let's go just with our warning color. And we're actually going to map this just to our orange. Like a standard yellow color really isn't the most accessible color in the world. So what we like to do is just our warning color is we just like to have that mapped just to our orange. So create, this again, is just our color orange. Make sure I did this right. Color yellow darkest. There we go. And then let's go with our warning lights. Warning light. And what we can do then is map this to our yellow light. Beautiful. There we go. So actually, did I do my error states yet? I actually haven't done my error states. Forgive me. So next, let's look at our error darkest. And this is going to be our red darkest. And then let's go with our error dark. And this is going to be our red dark. And then let's go with our error. And this is going to be our red. And then let's go with our error light, which is going to be our red light. And let's just make sure I got everything here. So we got our primary, we got our secondary, we got our black, our neutral, our white, our information, our success, our warning, our error. Oh, and we need a highlight color. So what we're going to do, just one highlight color that we like to have, and let's create the alias of that. And this is going to be our purple, start base purple, just like that. So there we have our alias collection. Next, let's look at actually taking the colors in our alias collection, so items like our primary or neutral, and then mapping them in to our mapped collection. All right, so now that we have our alias colors mapped to our brand colors, let's now look at taking or building out our mapped colors and then mapping those to our alias colors. One quick housekeeping thing I did do here is, again, I just grouped our groups of colors accordingly into one master folder called theme. And I did just actually also put our white and black colors in the neutral folder. Although I have seen cases where those don't belong in the neutral folder, they just exist on their own. So just thought I'd let you know about that. So let's go into our mapped folder, and we're going to start off, let's add a color variable. And one thing that we're going to do here right off the bat is we're going to start off with our text. So it's going to be our text headings to start. And I'm actually going to rename the mode to light. This is where you would actually apply the light mode and the dark mode. We're not going to get to dark mode just yet. That will be in a future video, so be sure to subscribe. But we're just going to focus on light mode to start. And then what we're actually going to do is create an alias of this. And again, this is where we're not working with our brand folder. We're only going to be working with the folders in the colors in our alias collection to start. So in this case, our text headings will be our theme neutral black, or our theme black. Let's then do a color. Again, oops, let me just delete this. Let's go into our text folder here. And let's do another color, and this time it'll be our text, our body. And we're going to map this back to our neutral darkest. Again, so we got our theme neutral darkest. Let's then do another one, which will be our text action. Let's create an alias, and this will be our theme primary. Again, notice how we're only mapping back to the colors in our alias collection. We're not mapping back to the colors in our brand collection. Let's then do an action hover. And this is going to be our theme primary dark. There we go. And then let's do a text disabled. And let's create an alias of that. So that is our, what we want to do, let's put our theme neutral. Theme neutral, there we go. Let's also look at a highlight color. Highlight, and this will just be our theme purple, or theme highlight, excuse me. Careful. Highlight, there we go. Again, we don't want to map to the brand colors, only the alias colors. Let's then do a information. This will be our theme information. Theme information. And let's do a success. So a text success. And we're going to put that to a success dark, theme success dark. Color, and then let's do a warning. And let's set this back to our warning darker. Warning darker for our text warning. Beautiful. Let's then do an error. So a text error, and this will be our theme error dark. Error dark. And then let's do an on action. So when a button is pressed, we want to create the alias of that. So that is our whites, but again, our theme neutral white. And then let's do an on disabled. And we'll map this back to our theme neutral darker. There we go. So there we have all of the text colors within our mapped collection that we're mapping back to the colors just in our alias collection, not our brand collection. Next, we're going to look at mapping out our icon colors. Now let's look at building out our icon colors. So let's create another color. This is going to be our icon primary. And let's, where we go here. Let's create the alias of that, which will be our theme neutral darkest. Let's then create another one, which will be our information, so our icon information. And we're going to create the alias of that so that it gets mapped back to our theme information. Let's then create a success icon color. And you guessed it, this will be our theme success. Let's create another one for our warning, which will be our theme warning. And let's create another one of that for our error, which will be our theme error. Beautiful. That's simple. Next, we're going to look at one that's a little bit more complex, which will be our surface colors. Now that we have our icon colors, let's look at building out our surface colors. And when we're doing this, it's a little bit more complex, and we're going to show you how it's so critically important to test out your colors as you're going along on different components so you can check for things like accessibility, look, feel, all that stuff as well. So let's get started here. And again, I just have this base button component. I don't have any variables applied to it just yet. As we're building out our variables, we're going to apply them to our variables, apply them to our component to test things out, as I mentioned. So let's start off with our surface. And let's go with a page. There we go. And our page will be our theme, neutral white, or just our white. Let's then go with a primary. And same thing. And then let's look at our disabled button. And when it comes to your disabled button, you want your button to look unclickable. You don't want it to be super colorful. So we're going to use one of our neutral colors for this. So we're going to create the alias, and let's go our theme, neutral, lighter, lightest. We'll go lightest for now. I think that's fine. Again, we can always change it if we need to. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and apply our disabled text. So our text on disabled, I think that's fine. And let's then go ahead and apply our newly created surface disabled. And there we go. And I think that looks pretty good for a disabled button in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, honestly, I can't really complain with that being a disabled button. So next, let's look at our success. So let's create our surface success, and let's create the alias and look for our success, our theme success light, which is the lighter one. And I have a hunch here that if I change this to our surface success, and then our text to our text success, that does not look like a really nice component. It doesn't really look clickable, doesn't look really inviting. It honestly looks straight out of the year 2000. And this would definitely not pass your accessibility color contrast ratio checks. So what we can actually do is we want, if we go back to our alias and our success, we can change our success light to a lighter shade of that green, to the green lighter. Now, all of a sudden, our success light is our green lighter, and our surface success is thus that success light. So this is a really, really great example as to why it's okay to make tweaks to your alias collection as you're building out your mapped collection. You're never going to get it right the first try. Building out your variable library is meant to be dynamic and not static. So always be sure to keep that in mind. So one note thing I noticed here, let's change this to lowercase. There we go. And let's just keep plugging away here. So that was a really good example. And let's look at our error. So with our error, same thing. Let's create an alias, and let's look at our theme, error, light. And I think we're going to run into the same issue here. So if we go with our surface error, and then we have our text success, go our text error, I think the same thing applies. Very same problem as our surface success. So let's then go into our alias, look for our error, and let's simply change that to our red lighter. And that already looks 150 times better. Let's then keep going down the line. Let's go with a warning. And with our warning, what we can do, I always keep doing that. Let's go with our theme, warning, lights. And I think we're going to run into the same issue again. Theme warning. Let's go with our text. Move this up. Too many of these widgets popping up everywhere. That doesn't look too bad, but I think we can do a little bit better. So let's then go into our alias. Where is our warning? And let's change this to our yellow lighter. And that's looking a little bit better. Let's also go back to our map, our surface. And then let's also do an information. And, oh, I did it again. Let's create an alias. Let's go our theme, information, lighter. Let's be sure to apply that. Theme information. Let's go with our text information. And again, doesn't pass our color checks. So let's go back and let's change this to our blue lightest. And that is looking better. next, let's do highlights. So what we can actually do, oops, sorry, I don't know why I did that. Let's open up our local variables. Let's then go into our maps and let's make a surface for our highlights. Color, highlights. And again, a button is probably a really bad example is because you're not going to have a button highlight. If it's highlighted, it's going to be on action or it's going to be on hover, depending how you use the term. So I'm actually not going to apply our highlight color to this particular button. So let's create the alias and let's go theme, highlights. There we go. And next, let's look at our action. So let's go with our theme, an action, action 1. And let's create the alias of that. And this will be our theme primary. And so what essentially this would be is, I know what you're probably thinking is this wouldn't necessarily pass our color contrast checker as it stands, especially with this blue text. But our action is meant to be if something is clicked, it's active. So what would actually end up happening then is our surface would become our action and our text would become our on action. So although it's not that lighter color, it's just a different particular use case. So say if I did want to make, again, this highlight color, again, if the button's highlighted for whatever reason, there we go. So this would still pass our color contrast check. So it's always something to keep in mind. So we have our action 1. And now what happens if this button is hovered? So let's go with our action 1 hover. And then we're going to set this to our theme primary dark. And now when I apply that, I can see that's pretty good. Beautiful. So there we have our collection, a basic collection of surface colors. So we've shown how important it is, to test out the colors as you're going along to make sure that, one, your components look good and they pass your accessibility checks. And if you need to make changes to your alias collection, it's more than fine to do so. Again, this list here is not all encompassing, but it should get you off to a real good start. Next and lastly, we're going to look at building out our border group. So we've got our surface colors, and we have a combination of surface colors, icon colors, text colors, whatever, where you can actually visualize what a component would look like. So now let's look at building out a border group and actually applying those borders to those colors again, just to double check that there's nothing wrong with our combinations here. So let's, you know the drill by now, create our color. This is going to be border, and we're actually going to start with a primary. And a primary border works really well, not necessarily on one of these buttons, but on something like a card. So first off, let's actually, and we're going to create the alias of that, and that's going to be a theme neutral lighter. So this would work really well when you have like a card component, again, sitting on a white background, where, let me apply our surface. Oops, hit the wrong button there. So let me, come on, there we go. Let's apply our surface. All these widgets getting in my way here. So let's go with our surface. Primary, again, where maybe you want some differentiation on your background so between the card and the background itself. So what you can actually do is apply your border primary, again, just to offer that little bit of differentiation. Now, what you can actually do as well is we're going to add a secondary, and we're going to create an alias of this going back to our theme primary. So maybe you want the card to just have that little bit of faint differentiation, but maybe you also want a version where there is a little bit more defined. It stands out a little bit more. And that's where you can actually apply like your secondary border, which is like that primary color itself. So those are two common use cases for those borders. But now let's get into the meat of the action here. We actually look at building out the borders for each of our different states here. So starting off with a information. So our information is actually going to be our, you guessed it, our theme information. Where is it? There we go. So then let's go ahead and apply that. So let's go with a, and actually one thing that I'm going to do here real quick is I'm actually going to scope out our variables, because I don't want to have to keep searching for it. I want to easily be able to go ahead and go and grab those. So what I'm actually going to do is just hide my brand and alias entirely when looking to apply them to apply a color to a particular component. So what I can do is like select the first, I'll do that again. Select the first variable, hold down Shift, click on the last one, edit those variables, and then just hit the button Show in all supported property groups. And what that's going to do then is I can see I no longer have alias, I have my brand in my mapped. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for our brand, because again, we don't really want to see these colors when we're looking to apply them for our components. We're going to edit those variables, same thing. There we go. So now when I hit stroke, I just see our mapped collection, and it's much easier for me to work with. So we have our information. Beautiful. Let's reopen back up those local variables of ours. And it's driving me crazy lately. Where are we going here? Our border. And let's add another one for our success. Color success. And this will be our theme success. I always do that. Create an alias. So our theme success. Let's apply. Add a stroke. Our too many widgets. Move this out of the way entirely here. Let's go with our border success. And perfect. Then let's add one for our warning. Let's add a color for our warning. And this will be our, did it again, our theme warning. And let's go ahead and apply that stroke. Theme warning. There we go. Let's do another one for our air. Let's go with a theme air. Theme air. And let's apply. Border air. I think that looks pretty good. Let's also do a disabled. Let's create that alias. And this will be our theme neutral for our disabled. Beautiful. And we can also do one thing that we don't have here actually. Actually, we'll do that last. Is for our action. So for our action, again, if the button is clicked, let's go with a action, and this will be our theme primary. Create the alias. This will be our theme primary. Theme primary. There we go. And let's go ahead and apply. And it's going to be the exact same. There we go. And the same thing for our action hover. Create that alias. This will be our primary dark. And then let's create a focus color. And again, with our focus border, this is essentially what's going to appear when the button is actually clicked itself. So you click your action color, and you're going to get this little outside border just to show that something's really been clicked. And for that, that will be our, we can set that to our theme action, our theme primary. You can also do your theme information as well, but it doesn't really matter. They're roughly the same. Then let's go ahead and apply. So our border focus, and you can also add a highlight border as well. This is the one that I almost did earlier. So we have our highlight color, and then let's create the alias of that, and let's go with a theme highlight. Beautiful. And there you go. There you have your border variable group.